All right, Buff Nation, what is going on? Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We're just a few days away from that big Cincinnati matchup. And man, I'm pumped about that. I'm going to be previewing it tonight on the Buff Blitz at 7 p.m. Mountain Time with Russ. So be sure to check that out. You'll see a link pop up here soon on my channel for that later this evening. So that's going to be great. But in this video, wanted to go ahead and dive into Keaten Wade with the announcement that he is going to redshirt this year for 2024, and what that means for the Buffs, mainly for this season, because there has been some rule changes with redshirting, and it really does benefit guys like Keaten Wade and the Buffs, especially in the transfer portal era. So as I get into this, y'all be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let's get this thing going. But yes, let's start with Keaten Wade and himself. He transferred along with his twin brother over to Colorado this summer from Kentucky with 3 years left to play two. So he is a true junior right now and hasn't used his red shirt yet. So this is going to be a good opportunity for him to use that so he can come back next year in 2025 as well as 2026. And I think continue to get better, be a main player on this defense, and then go to the NFL, right? That's got to be the ideal plan. And we saw, let me share my screen. We saw him, I think, have a really good game in his limited time against Arizona. He really popped on the tape for me, and I'm sure you guys noticed him as well, because the man had 4 pressures and 2 sacks on 11 snaps, and he was great. And I mean, what is so impressive about him, weighing in at 6'4", 245? Yes, you saw him at the edge position, no doubt about it, but that wasn't everything. We saw him, Robert Livingston, Coach Hart, use him like he was kind of used at Kentucky, being kind of like a jack of all trades. You can line him up at a handful of different spots. And here in this game, you saw him have 9 of his 11 snaps on the edge. Some of those were on the left side, some of those were on the right side. And then you saw him line up as a box linebacker 2 times. And I think one of those times he did line up in box is where he ended up blitzing, running a little stunt, and getting one of his 2 sacks. So he was really, really good. He was wearing the green dot. So that was also very interesting, because I think you can have 2 players, of course, just one on the field at a time, wearing that green dot to have the comms in from, in this case, Robert Livingston. But yeah, like Keaten Wade's first game, I don't think it could have gone any better. He played great. And so now he's got 3 games left, as we have 5 regular season games remaining on our schedule to play. The great news, guys, is that, let me go to this. This is new as of this year. So postseason contests will no longer count against 4-game max for redshirt eligibility. And I think this also is due to so many of college football's rosters turning over in December when that first transfer portal window opens. Hopefully that gets changed at a certain point. But yeah, like, it's something that needs to be done. And this includes conference title games, bowl games, and college playoff games. So this means we will be without Keaten Wade for 2 of our 5 remaining games on the regular season schedule. But if we make the Big 12 title game, if we make a bowl game, or win the Big 12 and go to the college football playoff, Keaten Wade could come back and play in all those games, all of them. So he's not going to be done for the year. And really anybody that is redshirted this year can do that. So, hey, maybe we see some Brandon Davis Swain later on in the year if we advance in the postseason, right? I mean, wouldn't that be nice? So this is really, really great. Again, this is credit to CBS Sports. This was changed as of this year. So the big question becomes, what games do you want to see Keaten Wade playing? He's got 3 more games he can play in the regular season. Of course, we got Cincinnati. They're tied with us for a 3-1 conference record. this evening or Saturday evening at 8:15 Mountain Time. Then we go on the road after a bye week into Lubbock against Texas Tech, who's also there at the top, 3-1. Then home versus Utah. Then on the road against the Kansas Jayhawks. And then we finish off the season at home against Oklahoma State. So personally, I think these are the 3 games that I'd want to see Keaten Wade play in. Number 1, this game against Cincinnati. We're tied for the same conference record. We need the tiebreakers over them. We need to. We can't have any more losses in the conference. We can't. These are essentially playoff games from now through the end of the year. It started with Arizona because of that loss to Kansas State. Basically, every game now since Kansas State is a must-win. It's a must-win for us in order to have a shot at getting in that title game, right? So play them against Cincinnati. Then you play them off of the bye week against Texas Tech because that is just as important to win. Huge games. And so that means you have to pick one game out of the remaining 3 against Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State for him to play in. And depending on how Utah looks, if they still look bad here in a month, forget that. I think right now, if I had to choose the 3, or one out of the 3 remaining 3, it would be the Kansas Jayhawks. That one's going to be on the road. Kansas, while they're not amazing, I think they've, I guess they kind of do suck, but at least they played Illinois tight. West Virginia is a 10-point loss on the road. They should have beat TCU. I mean, come on, man. We'll see how they look this week against Kansas State. Again, guys, we are Colorado Buffaloes fans, obviously, but our second team for the next month that we need to be cheering for needs to be Kansas Jayhawks. Because if somehow they can get good in this 3-game stretch, they could take down Kansas State, Iowa State, and BYU and catapult us into the leaderboard in the Big 12. That's what we need. So we're all Kansas Jayhawk fans till the next month, till November 23rd rolls around. But I think that those would be the 3 games that I would have in play against Cincinnati, Texas Tech, as well as the Kansas Jayhawks. Let's also take a look here at the scholarship chart so you can kind of see where we're at. Keaten Wade will remain a junior here. Arden Walker will be a redshirt senior next year. Deion Hayes and BJ Green will be off to the NFL unless somehow they have an extra COVID year or something like that and they want to burn it. I forget if those guys do or not. But anyways, we'll still be returning Samuel Okunloa, Tajay McCoy, and very anxious to see what Brandon Davis-Swain does. So I think that's going to be a great front-end rotation of Keaten Wade, Tajay McCoy, Samuel Okunloa, Arden Walker, and then, maybe guys like Brandon Davis-Swain, Quincy Wiggins, Webb Walker, some of these guys can kind of come along. But I imagine we'll also be going in the transfer portal very, very aggressively for more edge players as well as interior players. Let's continue to build this thing. Let's continue to build, go 3 layers deep, right? With all the positions. So I think we're in a great spot right now, and I love it. So now I'll get to some of your comments. This will probably be a little bit shorter of a stream, but this is, I think that this is a great move. Keeps Keaten Wade in Boulder for the next 2.5 seasons, which is great. And again, he only has to miss 2 of the last 5 remaining games, and then we can get him back for the postseason. So with no strings attached or anything like that, it's really, really nice. David Johnson saying Texas Tech in a bowl game. Yes, Texas Tech must, in my opinion. Cincinnati's must. And like I said, the bowl game won't count, so we can have him play against Utah or Oklahoma State. But right now, you got to make sure you take care of business, definitely in Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium against the Jayhawks. And but I think maybe that last game will be a little bit to be determined based on how the other teams are, injuries, different things like that, right? So, what if we get a fire running back or wide receiver from the transfer portal and get our defense tighter? We are going to be unstoppable next year. I agree, man. I agree, David, because we've seen how the depth has improved on this roster pretty much at every position, even our positions of strength. So yeah, like I think given another year, one, there's going to be still a lot of great continuity. A lot of the transfers that we've brought in, again, there are guys who can be here for multiple years unless they want to leave and go somewhere else. Which I mean, that just happens in college football. But I think we'll be able to retain a ton of continuity, especially compared to last year. Even though we had a handful of starters return, still a lot of turnover on that back end of the roster. And yeah, we go get a stud running back. We'll have no issues getting another stud wide receiver, especially if we have 4 receivers drafted this year. And let's say we do get to that conference championship game, I think you can put that in as a lock that all 4 of those guys, all 4 of our main wide receivers are getting drafted, like no doubt about it. So, not worried about being able to acquire more wide receivers. Running back, it would be nice to go get somebody. You know how Miami went and got Damian Martinez from Oregon State this past year, total stud running back. It would be nice to go and get one of those guys as well. And again, most of the offensive line should be here next year, and we'll lose Chidoze and Shane Cokes, but that's I think going to be one of our biggest focuses is finding some more interior D line talent. Cornerback, I feel great with where we're at with Colton Hood and DJ McKinney. But likely Preston Hodge and Travis Hunter, will be gone after this year. So I think we'll still go heavy at the DB position at corner. Feeling pretty good about where we're at with safety, but yeah, I can't wait to see who we bring in. I think the biggest question is quarterback. Is there going to be a transfer quarterback that comes in here or that enters the transfer portal that is the talent level of somebody like Shador Sanders or Cam Ward when they were in the portal? If they do that, if there's a guy out there, CU needs to be jumping on that, man, because if we can go 10-2 or whatever, like win out, um, guys are going to be heavily intrigued because if we're going 10-2, we're also making sure we're on network television every single weekend still, and we're going to be the most watched team in the entire country, no doubt about it. So viewership matters. The win is there, and we're definitely getting there. We're definitely football right now. We're looking great. So, and if somehow we can both retain Pat Shermer and Robert Livingston, all that continuity is just going to continue to benefit everybody. And I think we could be in for an even better year next year, depending on who this quarterback is going to be. I'm not totally sure. Wilfon just dropped the visitors for this weekend, but it's behind a paywall. Man, that's funny. I'm sure we'll find out as the weekend or the weekend approaches. But yeah, it should be exciting. I imagine Julian Lewis is going to be here for this one. This is going to be like our main big recruiting show. So, and speak of the devil, Carter, what's up, man? Y'all be sure to tune into our post game as long as Carter wants to show up. I think he should. On Saturday night after the game. Hopefully we can talk about a win late this time, unlike Kansas State. David Johnson, I think Juju is going to come to Colorado, but will he be ready? That's the question. Yes, that's the huge question. I want Juju here. I feel good about him as well. But you don't want to put a young quarterback in a situation to where maybe the expectation might be a little too big, maybe for a true freshman. I mean, yeah, I got to pick on my Oklahoma fans right now. Just the shuffling of freshman quarterbacks. It just doesn't help anybody. Now they're going back to Jackson Arnold, and they were talking about winning the SEC right now with freshman quarterbacks, and that's usually just not the case. Did Tim Tebow win the national title as a redshirt freshman? But that was so long ago now. So especially with the transfer portal, I think, hey, if we want to give ourselves the best chance of hitting our ceiling next year, it's probably with a transfer quarterback. Can we bring in an elite transfer quarterback? That's the true question. If we can't, somebody like Julian Lewis, he might have a higher ceiling than any of these other guys that we could bring in. So maybe you just roll with him. And maybe those first, the first half of the season might be a little bit up and down, but then you start seeing him turn the corner as time goes on. It's, yeah, going to be very interesting to see how that quarterback position's handled. Let's go. Julian Lewis, Cardé Smith. These are high school teammates, both right now committed to USC, but a USC or another USC commit just happened last week. It was with another offensive tackle. So maybe that's a sign going in the Buffs' favor. We'll just have to see. Yeah, it's going to be another late one. Y'all be sure to tune in. Cardé Smith is a monster. Just saw his film. Yes. The type of athlete, again, that we're recruiting on the lines, it's very, very nice. Phil Oldholt, we just need to sign him to an extension, man. We need to sign him to an extension. I think things are probably moving in that direction. I don't know anything behind the scenes, but I imagine with the recruiting that we're seeing, like a guy like Cardé Smith and the commits that we currently have, hopefully that's a good sign that things are going in the right direction with Phil Oldholt, and he's earned himself a really nice raise. But, let's see this thing through. It would be great to bring back as many coaches and players as possible next year. And, again, it probably less than 1% chance of this happening, but hey, if it's the Carolina Panthers and the Cleveland Browns with the first couple picks, maybe you just run this whole thing back and go for a national championship, right? One can hope. Now, if the LA Rams tank this thing, man, that's where I want to see Shedeur Sanders. Like, no doubt about it. That would be the ideal landing spot. LA is amazing. The Rams, Sean McVay. I think Shedeur would set himself up for a very, very successful NFL career going to the LA Rams. But anyways, guys, gonna cut this thing a little short. Just wanted to get on here, talk very briefly about Keaten Wade. If you missed the beginning of it, here's the good news. He can play 3 out of our last 5 games. And then if we make the conference championship and or make a bowl game and or make the college football playoff, he can play in all of those games, no matter what. So none of the playoff games, championship games, postseason count towards eligibility anymore for redshirt purposes. No. So anybody that is redshirted this season, we could get them back as soon as the conference championship game happens, granted, if we make it. So that is huge news. Again, this is a new rule this year for college football, and I think it's very helpful, especially with the amount of movement we see in the transfer portal now in December until that is changed. So love this move. Give Keaten Wade his 3 games against Cincinnati, then at Texas Tech after the bye week, and then against the Kansas Jayhawks. So y'all be sure to tune in again tonight with the Buff Blitz with me and Russ from Buff News Weekly. I'll see you guys later, and as always, go Buffs.